In the 9 days since Kamala Harris replaced President Biden at the top of the Democratic ticket, she has essentially tied Donald Trump in many polls, really across the board. Some suggest that whoever she picks up as her running mate could help give her the edge. The pool of VP candidates is starting to thin out now as of this morning, and I guess it should because they're kind of out of time. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer saying she's not part of the vetting process. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper withdrawing himself from the candidate pool just last night. That is where CNN's Harry Enten comes in. Talk to me about these VP candidates and some of the top candidates, if you will, how they do electorally in their states.
Yeah, so, nationally, a lot of these guys aren't particularly well known, so I think it's important to look at their home states, the people who know them best, to get an understanding, of how popular these guys can potentially be. So this is how much they outperformed Biden's 2020 margin in their last election. All these guys ran in 2022. And the one name that just stands out on this list is Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania. Look at this. He outperformed Biden by 14 points. My goodness gracious, look how large that is. Sometimes I think an answer is just staring you straight in the face. And in this particular case, Josh Shapiro is looking at you right in the face. Look, Mark Kelly's not too bad either, right? He outperformed Biden by 5 points. And keep in mind, he was running in a federal race, which isn't quite apples and apples, right, with a gubernatorial statewide race. But still, 5 points, not bad, outran all the other Democrats in Arizona. Tim Walz, who seems to have been picking up some sort of momentum on social media. But look at this. He only outperformed Biden by 0.6 points. Very much on a different planet than, let's say, a Josh Shapiro, who's the clear runaway winner on this particular metric.
Is there proof that a VP candidate can help him carry a state?
Right. So we look at all of this, right? We go, okay, what does this exactly mean? There is one proven effect for a VP, right? And it is, in fact, this home state effect. Look, it's not necessarily particularly large. It's 0.5 to 2 points on average added to their running mate's margin compared to the baseline. But you know how close
I was going to say, that's how much they're going to win some of these states.
This is the whole ball game. I mean, Pennsylvania last time was decided by 1.2 points. You look at Arizona, it was decided by 0.3 points. If you're able to add 0.5 to 2 points, that could all of a sudden help you capture a state like Arizona or Pennsylvania, especially when you got guys like Shapiro, who outran Biden by 14 points, or Mark Kelly, who outran Biden by 5 points. They could definitely be the types of candidates who could help put one of those two states over the top.
Which of the top candidates' home states is most likely, maybe most important for Harris or Trump to win?
Yeah, there you go. So if let's say you're choosing between a Mark Kelly and you're choosing between him and a Josh Shapiro, which of these two states is the one that you actually want to provide that boost to? So this will give you an idea, all right? The chance that this state puts either Harris or Trump over the top in the Electoral College. Once again, look at Pennsylvania as the clear runaway winner here. A 30% chance that is the state that puts you over the top in the Electoral College. Arizona, it's just a 4%. Minnesota's less than a 3%. Why is Pennsylvania so important? Well, it has so many electoral votes. It has 19 electoral votes, right? So if you're able to put that in your back pocket, all of a sudden your electoral map for Kamala Harris becomes that much easier, and it makes Donald Trump's map a lot more harder. Or a lot harder, I should say.
Not a lot more harder is also a way to say. Not leading us to any conclusion, though, of where she'll end up, but interesting nonetheless.
Interesting nonetheless. I don't know which way she'll go, but the math points in a very clear direction in my mind.
It's good to see you, Harry.
Nice to see you.
John.
All right, with us now, Democratic Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois, the second highest ranking Democrat in the Senate and the chair of the Judiciary Committee. Senator, have you received your vetting materials for the vice presidential pick?
I'm taking a pass on that. I enjoy being senator from Illinois.
Do you care to lobby for your Senate colleague Mark Kelly in this process this morning?
Well, we have a lot of good people in the race, and it sounds like a politician's answer, but it's true. I mean, I listened to the analysis before this. The arguments can be made for J.B. Pritzker of Illinois, a very successful governor who has shown some real leadership and loyalty to the ticket. I mean, you can go through a long list of possibilities, but the bottom line is the decision has to be made, and soon. Just a few days remain before the ballot names have to be submitted to the states.
Senator, the Trump campaign and its associates have started running ads against Vice President Harris, and the New York Times this morning has noted how she has shifted some of her positions, since she was first running for president in 2019 and 2020. I'm just going to read you a paragraph from the Times article. She changed her position on fracking in Pennsylvania. She released that just Friday. And the Times says, in addition to changing her position on fracking, campaign officials say she now backed the Biden administration's budget requests for increased funding for border enforcement, no longer supported a single-payer health insurance program, and now echoed Mr. Biden's call for banning assault weapons, but not a requirement to sell them to the federal government, which she had apparently backed before. How do you think voters feel, Senator, about a candidate who does shift positions?
Well, the issue may be so central to the campaign that it makes a significant difference. But I think the bottom line is the voters judge these candidates in their entirety. They have an image of Donald Trump, they have an image of Kamala Harris, and that propels them to make a decision on how to vote. Take a look at what's happened since Joe Biden stepped out of the race and Kamala Harris stepped in. There's been a dramatic shift of young people, for example, in their opinion of whether this race is important. So it's in the entirety of the career of these individual candidates as well as all of the positions they take. It's seldom that one position is going to decide a vote.
Because the Republicans in the Trump campaign are now trying to label the vice president as a liberal. What will it take to keep that from sticking?
Well, they're going to beat her with it as long as they can possibly do it, try to make an impression. But I think they're going to find that a former prosecutor, state attorney general in California, who served on the Senate Judiciary Committee with me, has a lot more to her background than just this simple labeling.
One thing that may have backfired on Republicans are comments from Senator J.D. Vance. He made them in 2021. K-File, CNN has reported that he actually made them over a period of time repeatedly about people who don't have children, suggesting that people who don't have children, the word he used, can be sociopaths. And then he used the phrase childless cat ladies at one point to describe then Senator and Vice President Kamala Harris. I want to play you what former President Trump said about this last night. Listen.
All he said is he does like, I mean, for him, he likes family. I think a lot of people like family, and sometimes it doesn't work out. And you know why? You don't meet the right person, or you don't meet any person, but you're just as good, in many cases a lot better than a person that's in a family situation.
So Trump is saying maybe being single makes you better than being in a family situation, but why do you think these comments have been so resonant?
Because an effective candidate for president should not be saying negative things about people who are childless. Some of them have made the decision to be childless, and some have tried very valiantly to raise a family, and they've just been physically unable to do so. Both childless and families deserve representation from the very best candidates for president. J.D. Vance's comments are troubling at a minimum.
Senator, you're going to hold hearings today on the Secret Service and their response or lack of response to the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, including, I believe, testimony from the now acting Secret Service director. How has your faith in the ability of the Secret Service changed over the last few weeks, given that attempt?
Listen, we hear lots of theories about international assassins and terrorists and their threat to highly elected officials in the United States and elaborate schemes and technology. This was a 20-year-old community college student who defied the best expertise of the United States and the Secret Service and law enforcement in Pennsylvania and locally, and came within an inch of killing a former president of the United States. You'd say to yourself, what in the hell happened here? We're supposed to be better than that. We have thousands of people who are in government and responsible for keeping these elected officials safe. That's why we're having this hearing this morning.
What do you hope to find out?
How we failed, and we did fail, and whether we can avoid that in the future. And I take it personally. We're 20 days away from a Democratic convention in not my hometown, but the town I represent, Chicago, and I'm proud to represent it. We want to make sure we do everything to keep every person safe who visits our city.
Senator Dick Durbin from Illinois, thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate your time.